Take three. Tell me about the daily tour days, Bill.
Well, supposedly invented by David Locke, but it worked for a lot of us. Take up to four couples, or well, nine sometimes if we had a big enough limo. And that was really a lot of fun, but a lot of work for the tour guide because actually, as I recall, we had to set up the stops. And also, the night before, I can't believe it, we'd be calling people, at least I would, at 7 o'clock at night or so, and saying, okay, we're coming by to pick you up tomorrow. And most often, if you had four couples, that were four different hotels,
Yep.
which was kind of trying, especially if one of the couples was landing at the Vallejo ferry.
Yep.
That sure did test people's patience. And not only the pickup, you'd maybe go there first, and those people would get the ride, have a lot of fun. They'd be the last one to drop off. And I remember one time I was rushing back to Vallejo, and these people had kind of had delayed things.
Yep.
Forget how they did it. But of course, they missed their ferry at 4:30.
That happened to me.
And boy, were they mad at me. Like I was the biggest villain anywhere.
Oh, yeah.
But I made them miss their ferry. Well, what were they going to have to do? Wait for another hour? So what? But those...
Unless you missed the last one. That happened to me, too.
Oh, is that right?
Had to drive down the city.
Yeah. Oh, whoa. And then, of course, that's if you really missed the last one, yeah. Of course, one of the other things about the daily tour was the food service. You'd have to go over to this other place. I forget who it was, but not far away.
The Girl in the Fig.
Girl in the Fig Catering.
Who's great restaurant, but catering, not good.
Well, yeah, you'd have to go in, and there were like different pieces. There were like 2 or 3 different platters or different kinds of food that you'd have to pick up. And I remember this fellow, Daryl Morimoto, I think his last name was something like that. He just finally moved back to Hawaii. But anyway, he was always helpful, but there were like 3 different components that you'd put in the trunk of the car. And then, of course, you'd already loaded the water and fill up the whole limo as usual with the ice and the glasses and the napkins and all that stuff. And also, of course, the 2 bottles, I think it was, of the sparkling wine.
Did you ever repurpose the bread as a ball peen hammer?
No,
or did any of your passengers lose any dental work over the bread?
Oh, my God. Well, I don't know. Most of the time I thought it was pretty good. I was hoping sometimes they wouldn't finish all the food so I could scarf it down myself.
Well, I do remember that we started that in 2008 or so when the gas prices were spiking up and the economy was crashing and the cars were sitting there. And at least it got us moving again. I do have to say that. But they were a lot of work. Good. And then I guess Tom discovered that these guys are making too much cash on the side. So I forgot. He did something about that where anyway, he decreased the minimum, the pay for the day or whatever. Yeah.
Well, of course, that was the days, hard to believe this when I would say it, that we were making $8 an hour.
Pretty much.
And supposedly built into the invoice was a 20% gratuity, which we would only get 15% of the 20%.
That caused some lawsuits, potential lawsuits down the road.
Well, initially, somebody told me, maybe another driver, the mistaken information that the 5% was to go to the detail guys.
Right.
And I later checked that out. That wasn't true at all.
Right.
But so maybe, the owners got the 5%.
Probably.
but it was always, on the regular tours as well as the daily tours, we were told by management not to prompt for an additional gratuity.
Right.
And they may have been sold by the salesperson over the line that it was all included.
Right.
All inclusive.
Right.
But the daily tours were fun because, in a way, they were fun. They were challenging.
They were challenging.
And yesterday I was up at Rutherford Hill, where I would often go, probably at the heydays, because they had those different picnic grounds, 3 different ones.
Before they started charging for them.
And then, it's a funny thing. I talked to the hospitality manager at the time that they started charging $35 a table. Mm-hmm. And they were trying to discourage a few people that would just come up there to picnic.
Right.
And I said, well, this is a big mistake. And lo and behold, after that, there was nobody in the picnic grounds. And what I always did was I took my people first into the tasting room, telling them, hey, do your tasting, buy some wine, then come out to the picnic,
Right.
which, of course, we had to set up.
Right.
The tablecloth,
Everything.
the plates,
the
glassware, cutlery, blah, blah, blah. That was a lot of work.
It was a lot of work.
But Rutherford Hill blew off the picnickers, that's for sure. Dumb move. And right now, I was up there yesterday, and they're doing heavy construction work all over that beautiful hillside site.
Oh, right, for Auberge, yeah.
Oh, is that what that is?
And in fact, is a restaurant open?
I don't know.
I think so.
Where the picnic ground was, the big one.
Oh, up there.
Up there,
Okay.
yeah. But anyway, went up to Rutherford Hill, and of course, it was somewhat easier, 15 years ago and more, to have picnics in the valley, which are now very difficult.
It's two different worlds between the two areas.
Yeah.
Where it's pretty wide open and out my way, and it's
right.
It's a lot of things, weddings and picnicking, and
right.
Food pairings and all that. Where it's definitely two different. We'll have to do an episode on that. The cultural differences, the wine cultural differences between Napa and Sonoma.
Right.
That can be an episode in itself.
And then was also, of course, you've got challenges at Oakville Grocery. Wow, man, that's a hustle.
I haven't gone there. Used them for a long time.
I seem to work that very, very well. I'm happy with it, but you have to be aware. Sometimes there are days when you think, well, hey, no one's going to be here. I mean, even like on a Monday, and all of a sudden everybody is there.
Right.
But it is a challenge to this day. But
anyway, the legend of Daily Tour Davy.
Oh, right. The Daily Tour.